Alright, what I have here is a cup holder from a Mini Cooper, and any of you that are familiar with the Mini Cooper, they have a little cup holder that mounts near the radio on one of the little frames. This screws right into the frame. One of the flaws, I'm going to show you right now, is that this little bracket right here, it's made of plastic, and as I zoom in on this part right here busted off. And the reason this happens is because it's just thin wall plastic, and the weight of the cup forces this little bar to move. Just hold it like this. You can move this bar, and that's what caused that little thing to snap out. This just bends, and then that pops out. And of course you end up with a mess on the floor. So what I've done is I found some stainless steel band. It's pretty thin. I have some needle nose pliers, which I'm going to use to bend it. Got my Dremel tool. I'm going to use this little guy right here. I have some quick steel epoxy. This is a kind you knead together with your fingers. It's got two parts to it. You just cut the slices off there. Once I get this secure, I'm going to put the epoxy in there. So I'll kind of take you through a little bit step by step how I do this. Okay, we've got our bit in place, so we're going to do it. Alright, so this is the piece up close. That's the piece that broke out. So now I'm going to take this like a dental tool almost, and I'm going to bore a little hole, and that's going to allow the band to slip right through there. And then I'm actually going to run it along the inside of here. So to give you an idea, there's the band. It's going to run kind of through and then run along there. And what that'll do is it'll allow it to clear, because as you can see there's not much room in there because the support runs through there. So I got to make sure it stays within those little ribs. Here. Put a little mark there with my permanent marker, so that's where I'm going to drill. Okay, so I got my little hole here so I can just fish this right on through. Just going to slide it through and come through the other side. Okay, so we got the second one drilled. So now this band is going to be able to slide through here like that. So we're going to run it through this way along the inside edge of this and back through there, so it stays tight out of the way. And then this part here is going to loop around and back through here. So I'll show you that in a second. So now I'm going to take this, run this along. So I'm going to bend this right here where my thumb is, go through here, and actually I'm going to go out and around and all the way back around, just with the excess here. Show you what that looks like. I'm going to use the vice grips to bend. So again, I can grab this where I want it to bend, and then I'm going to bend this to a 90. So I'm going to try and make that as tight as I can. You've got to be careful not to bend these back and forth, because it could create a snap point right here, because the metal it's a hard metal. So the trick is that you want to get this one going out this way where the bend is, but this goes out here at the same time, so you look like this, and you feed these through together. See, now you end up with that. So like I said, you're just going to have to bend that piece a little closer. Alright. See if I can explain what's going on here. So we took that piece, bent it through, and now I've bent that over, all the way over. So now I flatten this. I've actually hit these together. I put a piece of metal on the other side and tap this down. So I've bent this all the way over. So this piece coming through the little hole, this gets kind of complicated, hooks back around and back through here. So now what my objective is to pass this through that same hole and pull the slack out of here so that fits the little round spot right. Before I do that, I got to poke it out, back out through this hole. So I got to do a little bend, just enough that comes through this side. All right. So what I managed to do is managed to get this part through the hole here. So now I'm gonna pull on this and take out the slack. Through here. It's gonna take up the slack. Now be careful not to put too much strain on this plastic piece. So support it really well. And just pull that through. See, that loop is getting smaller. So you just keep pulling that. Easy. See it tightening up until that's right about there. This is what that's looking like right now. Now that's basically going to replace the piece of plastic. Now what I've done is I've dry fit this in place. So that, again, that plugs in the bottom, and then that sits in the top right here. So that'll keep that from coming forward. So I put that in there so I can pull this as tight as I can to there. Now I'm going to bend this flat just like I did that one, so it's out of the way from the bracket. Okay, now I was able to get this piece looped and back through here, and I've stayed within the little ribs here. And as you can see, I come back out the hole, and then I ran it back on the back side, cut that with the tin snips, and then pounded it flat. So now that'll actually stay out of the way. The glove box is actually right there, so it's not going to hurt anything. But now I'm going to take this, run that back around one more time around here, and just tuck it back through that hole, and just hide it right back here. So again, tucking that back out of the way. I'm going to run that end right through that hole. And then again, I'm going to pull off the excess here. And then I'm going to flatten that down so it's a little tighter. Alright, so anyways, I've wrapped that down, kept that close, pulled that as close as I can, and then that closes the gap here. So that makes that 2 layers. And that's plenty strong to keep that guy from popping out of there. So very, very hefty duty. What I am going to do though is, again, I'm going to take some of this quick set epoxy, and I'm going to knead that up, and I think I'm going to go ahead and put that in here to kind of just dress that front edge up a little bit. Maybe pack some in here on the back side so that stays tight up against there. So this is quick set epoxy, so it's just 2-part. So you just cut a piece off and just use a blade. The 2 parts. You just begin to knead this together, and that makes one uniform color. So I put the quick set epoxy in there. So you can see I got to hold that down while this dries. Once this dries, it'll help hold this piece of metal down. And this stuff sets up pretty quick. It's the cup holder. So anyways, the cup goes in here. This part right here screws onto the piece, so you can see the little metal piece going across here. And now that, if you can see, stays out of the way of the frame, sits on the car like this, and it still swivels side to side. Now this is nice and strong right here. So here's where the cup holder mounts back on the vehicle. And here it is reinstalled, better than new.